Before we get to the episode, exciting news. I have a new podcast, a second podcast. I am the host and producer of the Strandcast, the official podcast for Strand Bookstore in New York City at 12th and Broadway, the coolest independent bookstore. And now there's a podcast every other week featuring long-form conversations with authors from different genres. The Strandcast is available on iTunes and Stitcher. Just search for The Strandcast. Links will be in the show notes, of course, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now for the show. Hello there, my friend. Welcome to Talk Music Talk with Boice. I am your podcasting host, Boice. Thank you for listening to Talk Music Talk. If this happens to be your very first time checking it out, Talk Music Talk is a weekly music interview podcast where I have long-form conversations with people connected to music from different genres, different backgrounds, both established and emerging, singers, singer-songwriters, music therapists, music journalists. And on this episode, I had the pleasure of speaking to Manhattan-based singer-songwriter Clara Joy. I discovered her music just scrounging around on Bandcamp and found her latest release, which is called Far From Here. She is a born and bred New Yorker. In this conversation, we talk about how she got started making music, getting into DIY culture in New York and also Bandcamp culture and how they both inspired her. We also talk about her playing her first shows and her love of performing. We talk about songwriting, self-production, releasing her own music. We talk about how she's changed as an artist and also how she has stayed the same. Plus, of course, we talk about the new EP, Far From Here, and after the conversation, you will hear Drop Out from it, one of my favorite songs. Here it is, without further ado, my talk, my conversation, my interview with Clara Joy. Enjoy. This is one of these interviews, right, when I go online to do my research, and I don't see much or a lot. So, I love coming in and I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm going to discover everything there is to know about Clara.
Cool.
In the next hour. So, let's see where to start. Where are you from?
Okay, I'm from New York. I'm from Chelsea.
Mm-hmm. Where we are now.
Yeah. I moved to Massachusetts for about 4 years, I think, during middle school, and then I moved back for high school.
Okay.
So, yeah, mostly New York.
Okay. So, have you grown tired of New York? You hear that from a lot of New Yorkers that they're tired
actually.
of it?
I'm, obsessed with it. I never want to leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is for you?
I think it's just, if you're doing art, anything creative, this is one of the best places to do it. And when I was living in Massachusetts, I was doing creative stuff, but I definitely felt sometimes one of the only people who was really into that stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's cool to be around so many creative people. Yeah.
How old were you when you moved back from Massachusetts?
I must have been I guess 14, 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you had already been making music, started?
No, actually. I moved here and I was holy shit, there's so much to write about.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I started when I was 15, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was the impetus? How can I put this city into
kind of
a way to understand?
Yeah. I mean, it was also I think being... my first ever thing I put out on Bandcamp is super angsty and very teenager in her bedroom. Definitely a lot of it was just complaining about high school.
Yeah.
But there definitely was something about moving back that I was wow, this is so different that I want to share that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your first instrument?
It was guitar, yeah.
Okay. And how'd you start that? Where'd you go? Where'd you get the guitar? How'd you acquire that?
I think I saw... My dad plays guitar, and I think I saw him play guitar, and I was that seems like something I'd like to do. And also, I saw a lot of people on Bandcamp just, doing, really simple stuff, and I was okay, this is not actually as hard as people say it is. Unless you want to shred like crazy, but no. Yeah.
So where'd you get the guitar?
I got it, I think, at Guitar Center.
Okay. Yeah. What kind was that? What would you get?
I don't...
Acoustic
it's a
or
Yamaha
electric?
Acoustic. It's a piece of shit.
Was it really high action? Because my first instrument, guitar, was just you could slip your hand underneath the strings. That's how far they were
Ooh,
from
no,
that.
I don't think so. Oh my god. Yeah.
But Yamaha, that's a pretty good brand.
Yeah, I guess so. I honestly don't know very much about guitars, so
did your dad show you chords and stuff, or you just figured that out on your own?
I kind of figured most of it out on my own, just because like most of the music I was listening to at the time was like pretty simple guitar stuff, like Kimya Dawson or like Frankie Cosmos. Very, very like sort of simple chords, nothing like no finger picking really. So it was pretty easy to figure it out, just like through like online stuff. Yeah.
Had you been coming up with melodies prior to the guitar, like in your head?
Yeah, I think I like since I was pretty young, I've been just like I've really always enjoyed singing a lot. But then like there was a time when it kind of shifted into more like about lyrics, like, oh, how can I turn this more into like writing?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And so first song, like what is the first thing you're like, okay, that's an actual song
that I wrote?
Yeah. You remember
that? Yes, actually the first song I like put out for people to listen to, which it's so bad, but it's called Hello World, and it's a song about basically it's like me saying like hello to the world, and then talking about how much I hate my math class in high school, and how like everybody wants to be everything, and like how like overwhelming that can be.
Yeah. Okay. So you're writing what you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very like kind of simple.
Was that scary putting your music out on Bandcamp?
It was definitely. It was funny because I thought that like people would react, and like I realized that like no one knew who I was, so like nobody would really care. And that was interesting. And I remember like some kids finding it and being like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. And I was like kind of shocked almost as well. And that was when I got my first show at like someone's garage.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So had you been keeping it a secret, or not many people knew about it?
I kind of kept it a secret like in high school. I didn't want anyone to know because I like didn't really have many friends, and I was like very worried about like people finding out for some reason. But I didn't really keep it a secret with like other creative kids I knew just in the city. I actually hoped they would like enjoy it also, so I could like connect with them through it. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of me in high school being like, please don't find out that I like do something that is like somewhat out of the ordinary. I don't know.
Were you going, I mean, you're in New York, so there's like tons of places to see shows. Were you doing that yourself, going to a lot of shows or anything?
Yeah, I guess, I was going to a lot of shows when I was like 14-ish in the city. I would go to Silent Barn in Brooklyn like a ton before it got shut down. Yeah, it sucks. And yeah, just like shows. I used to go to a lot of like Frankie Cosmos shows, or like Girl Pool, like the OG like 2015 people. Yeah, it was really cool to see them also like doing that kind of DIY thing, because now like they're super big, so it's weird to reflect on it. Yeah.
I interviewed Vagabond. She was talking about how doing the whole DIY scene, and like before she started, like being able to see like, oh, you can do that. It felt like you could do that. Yeah. Like when you would go to those shows, you know, because the stage is like a foot off the ground, right? And then you could just meet the people. Was it like that for you in any way?
It really was, yeah. It's very like, I feel like the DIY community in New York is very accepting of new people, because I feel like there is a weird sense of being worried that it will like die or something. So people are always like, oh yeah, like have your band play a show, or let's like do this thing that's out of the ordinary. At a random space.
So how'd you get your first gig? This is you said in a garage?
I think my friend, so actually I met this guy named Eric at a Frankie Cosmos show in like 2015, and I think I like friended him on Facebook or something, and he found my music and was like, I'm part of this booking thing called Lavender Ladies. Oh no, not Lavender Ladies, Long Island Ladies.
Long Island, okay.
And he was like, I want you to play a show in Long Island in this like garage at my friend's house. And I was like, cool. So we took the trek to Long Island, and I played the show. And it was really cool, actually, yeah. It was like this really small basement, this really small garage with like lights and like a couch in the corner and like a little mic stand.
Okay. And it's just you on guitar?
Yeah.
Okay. Fearful, like how scared were you? Did it feel right?
Yeah. Well, I was pretty nervous. I remember shaking a lot, like, while I was performing, but I was, like, very comforted by the fact that, like, people seemed to enjoy it. So I was kind of just like, I'm not going to freak out about this. It seems like it's going well. Yeah.
It seems like, too, at those shows that people are very supportive of the artists. Like, even if they may not be wild about them. Yeah. Like, there's no, like, talking over them and stuff. They're actually letting them perform.
Totally. I never hear people, like, boo an artist at a show. Yeah. Because
there's some places you do go to and, like, people just, if they don't like it, they just start talking over the thing. So what happens from there? Like, you do that show and that, like, takes you to another place, a next level? Like, gives you energy to do what?
I think after that show, I was so happy I got it, because that's like all I wanted. I was like, I just want to play a show. Like, I've seen all these people do it and I want to do it too. So that gave me like some kind of confidence, I guess. And then from there, I think I was like doing a lot of house shows, like just playing at people's like apartments and stuff. And then, like, basically it was just, like, the more shows I played, the further things progressed. I think, like, a lot of it was about, like, performing, like, physically in spaces more than people, like, finding it online and stuff, And
gaining, like, experience from that. Yeah. So how does the performing help your, like, the studio recording? You're out making albums.
I think it helps a lot in the sense that, like, performing... Like, for me, a lot of my music is about the lyrics. It's not really very focused on, like, the instruments. And so I think, like, being able to see in real life, like, when you're on a stage, that you're connecting with someone who's watching can help, like, when you're in the studio, because you're like, okay, how can I write a song that, like, other people will connect to? Because, like, I've seen people connect to this song I've performed. Like, what about that song is, like, relatable to the people watching or listening?
And where did you do your own production and all that stuff yourself? How'd you learn that? What do you use?
I use Audacity. I don't know. I was just like experimenting on my laptop and I figured it out. But yeah.
How'd you know like which programming you want to use and all that? And
I think my dad used Audacity and he was like, "This is something," and I just kind of like was like, "Okay, cool, yeah."
So, what's your dad's background in music? Did he play guitar?
Yeah, he plays guitar. He used to do, like, composition and stuff, but he doesn't really do that much anymore. But, yeah, he's, like, an amazing guitar player. Yeah.
Did he turn you on to, was that your introduction to music through him?
Kind of. Like, I think a lot of, like, the musicians I listen to now, like, he and my mom were playing, like, when I was a child, like... The Velvet Underground was like a huge one. Like when I was a kid, that was always playing in my house, which was like very kind of scary actually to listen to as a kid. I was like, why is this guy singing about heroin? But like now I'm like, whoa, I'm very like grateful that I had that unique experience, but like definitely weird. So like the Velvet Underground, a lot of Bob Dylan, and like, just a lot of like, people in like the New York music scene, I guess. Yeah.
And when did you like sort of get into like this is your music?
I think like I became very like obsessed with the Bandcamp culture, like seeing like people uploading just like very like DIY music, just kind of like casually all the time was super cool to see. Like there wasn't so much weight on it.
Okay.
Definitely, like, Kimya Dawson was another huge inspiration. I found her through the movie Juno. She did, like, the whole thing. So I was just, like, very into, like, those kinds of, like, tell-all musicians, like, people who kind of are, like, communicators,
So for Bandcamp, what do? You, like, sit down and you're like, okay, I want to discover new music? Is that, like, what is your approach to finding music on there?
I think a lot of it back in the day was through Tumblr, like just seeing kids like reblog a song. I was like, oh, cool. This is like some random person in their bedroom just like playing around with like GarageBand or whatever. So it was like mostly Tumblr, maybe Instagram too, but I think mostly Tumblr. And
I'm asking this question and I guess the answer is Tumblr's still around, right?
I think it is, but I don't think many people
I don't
use
know
it.
anybody.
I think we should move from Instagram back to Tumblr.
I like Tumblr.
That would be cool. Yeah.
But I don't engage. When I am on it, rarely. I like it. I used to like it a lot. But I feel like no one talks about it, but it's still there.
I know. It's cool. It's always been cool.
Yeah. How do they make money?
I have no idea. Yeah. Jeez.
They have some large endowment. Right?
Yeah.
So when do you put the first song, moving to when you put the first song out, when are you thinking about, I'm going to put an album out? What's the first album? Like a full release.
It's very weird because all of my albums are about 5 songs. Mm-hmm. So I guess some people wouldn't call that an album, but like, I mean, I don't really know like when the first serious one was because they were all just kind of like, let's hope this works.
Yeah.
But I guess, I mean, the first album was the one with that song Hello World. Mm-hmm. The album was called Hello World. It had about, I think, 5 songs. That, I guess, was the first album because like it was the first one I really shared with like, I posted it everywhere. Yeah. Like, go listen. So I guess that one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that was what, 5 songs? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. And had you wrote a bunch of songs and those were the 5 you decided?
Yeah, I've always like had this thing with, actually, I guess at the time I was just kind of like writing the music and hoping that like it sounded kind of catchy enough to like have people listen to it. But definitely I have a thing where like I'll write like a bunch of songs and only release like the ones that I'm like super sure are like good enough to release. Mm-hmm. I don't know, because I guess like I'd rather have like 5 really good songs than like 10 like 5 are like kind of okay and then like 5 are really good, because I don't know. I feel like a lot of artists like release sometimes more than they need to. Yeah. Just release the strongest stuff. Yeah.
Do you have a problem releasing your stuff, like letting it go?
Sometimes, actually. I think that sometimes I actually have had a lot of times where like I've released songs that I regret putting out because I feel like they aren't like as good as they could have been. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, there's this one song I released that's like kind of making fun of astrology, and like a lot of kids listen to it and they'll like sing along with it and stuff. And I like really don't like it, so I think it's very like embarrassing for me. Or like the first album's very embarrassing. Okay. But like, I don't know. I'm sometimes like, maybe I should take these off Bandcamp, but then I'm like, if people want to listen, they can. Yeah.
And it's like, it's true at that moment. Like, it's all right. Yeah.
It's cool to see the growth too. Like, to see like, whoa, that was such different music versus now. Yeah.
And then so from that one to the next EP or whatever, extended play.
What was the next we calling one? It? Yeah, I think the next thing I did, oh my god, I don't even remember the name of it, but it was like this weird album that I like put in. It was like an album cover of like yellow with red that I like put in Photoshop, and I literally just took the liquify thing and swirled it around and just put it up. But I think like the most significant one I can remember after the first one was this album. It's a photo of me in the snow with like, it's like a collage. I used to do a lot of stuff with collage on Bandcamp. Like I would just like I did one where I like cut a hole in a piece of paper and took like an iPhone charger and cut it up, put it through the hole and tried to make like this like digital heart. So I don't know, just like that kind of stuff, I guess, came out of like that very small project. Yeah.
What do you see as the growth? You've gone from like the first album EP to the new one, Far From Here.
Yeah, I think that the growth is crazy. Like, but I still see like some similarities. I think like, I still think that like there's a very common theme in all the albums of like trying to relate to other people or like connecting to other people. But I definitely think that like Far From Here, the lyrics are much more like abstract in some songs. I was like trying to experiment with that more, like kind of more like poetic rather than like very concrete like ideas. Okay. And like I think Far From Here is very much about like the first song on Far From Here is Dropout, and it's like I'm alone in New York. So like being alone, and then like the last song is like being on the moon. So like a lot about distance, I guess. And then like the album title. Okay.
What do you think of those are your themes? Why do you think that?
I don't know. I've always like been very like interested in like human connection, or like people being alone, or people being with so many people, or like people feeling isolated, or the opposite, like all of those kinds of things. I feel like come up in my songs a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Are you an only child?
I am. Yeah, maybe that's why.
Same here. I kind of suspected that. That does not surprise me.
Wow.
What has been your? What were you gonna say?
Wait. I'm curious. Like, could you tell?
I kind of felt that, like the isolation, feeling alone.
Oh, yeah.
I always felt like more connected to adults. Like I felt like more mature than other kids.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that being only child makes you feel a little more mature.
Yeah. I think only children can be like sometimes. Like we have trouble sharing because we never had to. Yeah.
Because I just, as I told you before we recorded, moved to a new place, and my roommate, I have not seen him in 3 days. And it's been wonderful. I've been in my room.
Don't let him hear this.
Well, he keeps to himself.
Wow.
And I'm like,
That's
we
awesome.
do this before we move. And I'm like, this is perfect. We haven't seen each other in 3 days.
So
He's in his room. I'm in my room. And
That's
I'm
amazing.
like, I love that.
Yeah.
I've always said the best roommate is a roommate you don't see.
Seriously. That's so funny. I've said that too. And like, I think about these kids like in dorms at school. And I'm like, how the fuck are you doing
I know. That's crazy.
Like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like the weird thing where like, you know, we saw each other and we're like, hey, how's it going? And it was comfortable. And yeah. So
wow.
I don't think he'd be offended. I think he'd be like, yeah,
I
we're good
agree.
roommates. So, what has that been how has it been your only child experience?
Wow. I don't know. I mean, I think it's been, I definitely feel like, I mean, I don't know, because it's all I know.
Yeah.
I think that it's very natural for me to just like, I've always kind of felt like pretty independent, like I kind of do my own thing, but like, I don't know, I definitely like, I can't imagine having like a sibling. I've always wanted one though. I wish I had one, but yeah, I mean, I think it's just like very natural.
Yeah. Do you think that plays a part into you? Like, okay, I'm going to do this music by myself. I'm going to go up on stage by myself. I don't need a band.
I have no idea. I mean, I think like that possibly could be part of it, but I also think that like, because I've been asked by a lot of people, like, why do you choose to do that rather than be in a band? And I think one of the main reasons is, like, I think that if I was in a band, it would take away from the performance. I think, like, part of the reason why people like the performance is because it's kind of, like, it feels like kind of like a storytelling feeling. Like, it doesn't really feel like it's even in the same nature as, like, band music.
Yeah.
It's kind of more like... It feels like kind of more like writing performance rather than like band, because it's not, I think it can be powerful in like a different way to be a solo artist.
Yeah.
But it definitely can be scary. Like, you're on stage alone, and like when you mess up, people hear it. Like, when you're in a band and you mess up, you can just do a little ditty and like it's all good. On. But when, oh my God, so many times I've messed up and I'm like, fuck, I wish someone else was up here too. Yeah.
So you record Far From Here. Did you have a lot of songs for this that you weeded
For
it
Far
down?
From Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were quite a few songs that I tried to write and put on the album, but they just didn't make it. And that's fine. I think like I was hoping to put more songs on this album, but it just like didn't really work with like the flow of each song into the next. Like I like how each song kind of like goes into the next song in like a theme, but yeah, I mean, I tried to do that, but I think that part of it was that like a lot of those songs were like written based off like experiences that would happen to me or just thoughts I would have. So it wasn't like, all right, I'm gonna like sit down and write the album and like put out 7 songs. It was like, oh, this thing happened, I'm gonna write a song. So I guess like not that many things. I don't know.
Short moment in time. Right?
Yeah.
What is that?
It took a long time though. That
really?
album, oh my God, too long. It took like almost a year, which I'm embarrassed about.
Okay,
but I'm gonna work on that.
Why did it take a year?
I think
you don't
that,
work
like,
on it every day, or
I don't work, but I also think like, well, I don't have like a job, but I think that part of it was that I like started college, so I was like adjusting to like I go to Hunter College, and so I was like adjusting to that, and I think that was also part of the reason why it took like so long, because I was like, oh wow, like this is college, and like I'm gonna try to like do music and college. And then I was like, wow, that's actually very hard. Yeah.
See, I think that's even more impressive, that you're going to college and you put out an album while you're going to college.
It's very kind.
Yes. You should add that in. It took a year because from now on, that's what you...
I will say that.
Yes. What are you going to Hunter for?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm not a decided major, so I'm trying to figure it out this semester, but it's weird because like I really want to do music like as my career, but I think that like there is a lot of like strain with like, you know, like not knowing if that can happen, you know, and it's like artists don't always make a lot of money and all of that. I mean, I don't really care that much about that, but like I definitely think there's pressure to be in college, so I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But
are there classes you're taking that you enjoy?
Yeah, I took this really cool like women in religion course that had like so much interesting stuff about like how we relate to God. It was really interesting. I try to like I used to try to do this thing, which I'm going to try to do again, where I would like take classes that had like text or like cool ideas for writing music. So I was like, okay, I'll use this to my benefit.
Yes. There you go. Yeah. I like that idea.
Hopefully that happens this semester. I don't know.
Or can you create a major?
Ooh, yeah.
That's connected. Like whatever I do is music and whatever strikes your fancy.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if Hunter lets you do that, but I would love to.
I always say ask and let them tell you no.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Claire. So what's next for you? What are you looking forward for 2020? We're, as I told you, you're the first interview that I'm recording for the new year. What are you looking forward to, hope to happen for 2020?
Wow. I haven't like set any like kind of like super like goals for the new year, but I definitely think I don't know. I think like hopefully having more support with my music. Like I don't know if I don't necessarily know about like labels, but like I would be interested in like having more support, like maybe more of a team helping me.
Yeah.
Because I definitely think like being a solo artist, part of it is that like you don't really have other people with you like when you're doing this stuff. So it would be cool to have that. I guess just like also playing more shows. Maybe like I'd love to do a tour. I'd love to like go to some other places and play shows. Like I really want to do that.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool.
So you love performing?
I do. Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah.
And I guess we know the answer. Best place to get your music, keep up with you online? Bandcamp's one way.
Bandcamp. You could do Spotify and iTunes, but I will not get anything from that.
And where do you like to keep up with people on social media?
Mostly Instagram. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Facebook is weird. I haven't really used any other like social media stuff besides Instagram, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with Instagram.
Yeah.
Did I leave anything out?
No.
Okay, this was wonderful, Clara. Cool. I enjoyed it. I love your music.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the back stuff I've been listening to.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, and thank you for doing this.
Awesome.
All my friends have moved away to safe, expensive college and made their parents feel so proud to pay $50,000 to go to parties in their dorms where everybody knows each other. And I am alone in New York with my guitar on my back, standing in a subway car, trying to get home from Brooklyn. I am alone in New York, and I miss you very much. Just know, if you get tired, you can always drop out. You can always drop out. I am alone in New York. shut down. A crowd forms around me while my fingers freeze. And I am alone in New York, and I miss you very much. Just know if you get tired, you can always drop out. You can always drop out. Did you get everything your college promised? A social life and a nice community. It's funny how arranged culture turns out to be when everyone who's in your class is like you. Did you get your care package yet? Was your roommate's care package bigger? Was your roommate's care package bigger? Was your roommate's care package bigger? I am alone in New York, and I miss you very much. Just know if you get tired, you can always drop out. You can always drop out. You can always drop out.
You just heard Dropout from Clara Joy from her album, EP, Far From Here, whatever you want to call it. I love everything that she does. Get her music on Bandcamp and follow her on Instagram. As for me, I am online several places. TalkMusicTalk.com for more podcast information and to stream every single episode. I am also on social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at This Is Boice, and some special requests for you. Please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and many other places. Just search for Talk Music Talk with Boice. While you are there, please leave a 5-star rating and or review to help grow the Talk Music Talk audience. There is also an app. It is free wherever you like to get your apps. Again, just search for Talk Music Talk with Boice. And don't forget my other podcast, the Strandcast, the official podcast of Strand Bookstore, 12th and Broadway in New York City. Link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, and there will be a next time, this one's for you, Liz.